Okay, I have to be careful because there is a excuse me, that's mucus. There is a natural form and flow in which a crystal spiral naturally has a very precise. It's a level of precision that's beautiful to experience because it works the way that it naturally operates. The spiral operates. It's such a high level of mathematical precision as building, like builder's tools, a matrix table, water logic, hydrolase, tetrahydrolase fused with helium, light as a feather. So I was sitting here as I'm listening to music, Caribbean blue, and I began realizing this is like a rewind, like a retread, right? Looping some time frames, as in a window frame, as in neutrinos, the tachometer, the meter, the dial tones, the spin tones. A beautiful visual and mathematical relationship that I had with a guy who was my supervisor when I went to work for the California Department of Forestry in San Diego County, and that was 1971. And he was from Tennessee, and he's known as T. Jones. And in Cal Fire in Southern California, he was considered the gold standard. Now we're back to the silver and gold mated one, the level of precision, which is spiritual immunity, which is purity, to experience being pure, eternal, absolute love that's on fire as an engineer. Engineers building water tables that are in perfect mathematical alignment. There are no errors. There are no mistakes because of the relationship that living spirits have as a molecular covalent bonded relationship with each other, fire and ice or fire and water. So the reason that T. Jones had a reputation throughout the California Department of Forestry, or Cal Fire, was the application of water to cool the base. Right? Flash, ignition, burn a gas. So I worked for this guy who had the gold standard because it was pretty much understood that if you were able to last one fire season with this guy and he gave you a rehire, that was considered a gold standard because he was considered a task master. Obey the rules. And obeying the rules is the application of mathematical rules. Rule-based functions, the mathematical function, the precision in which those functions operate, a hologram, a mathematical water table. So when I was assigned to that engine as an application of consciousness, operating a fire engine program, which is a holographic visual program, I'm playing the role of being a spirit of fire and water joined as one, the silver and gold mated one, the one we serve. And I was assigned to that engine with T. Jones. And he was a taskmaster, okay, in the sense of expectations. The director of the play, Chapter 5, Big Books of Alcoholics Anonymous, wanting to control, full spectrum dominance. But he had a remarkable mathematical ability to understand the application of water to cool the base, as that relates to the precision of the mathematics, as a change in an echo map, a fire index, indexing the codes, the filing system. So I was reminded of the day that we went out on this fire. Now, you know what a specification is, like a military specification, right? The height and width, right? The actual spin tones of dimension, multidimensional and density consciousness, right? Altitude density as it relates to fire and water, the atmospherics, the lines of communication. So he had a standard. He upped the ante, like upping the ante on a gaming table, a war game table. And upping that ante meant he exceeded the expectations of a standard that the California Department of Forestry had set, which was, as I remember it, 2,600 feet of 1.5-inch fire hose, which was cotton jacketed on the inside. It was 1.5. It could hold 9 gallons of water, right? At 100-foot length, And so the standard was right around 2,600 feet. So if they came out to inspect your engine, you could get cited as a rule violation if you had less than that. So what do you think he did? He loaded it with 3,500 feet. Oh, so 3 times 5 is 15, and 3 plus 5 is 8. He must have known something about a double diamond, the 9-ball, because that's how precise he was with the visual mathematics in the application of water on fire echo maps. That's why he earned the reputation that he did, because he could unload, if you will, to unload the program, load the program, run the program, and his speed, the speed at which he could apply the water to the spirit of fire and put the fire out, cool the base. He was considered the fastest at being able to cool the base in the application of water at the speed at which it was getting done. So if you work for T. Jones and you got a rehire to become a retread, as in re-looping, the same echo maps, the layers, the false illusion layers of a false light vacuum, you got a job to do the same job for that same outfit, that same corporate military hierarchy. So on this particular day, we got called out to a fire. And it was about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And it was called the rabbit fire because somebody was cooking a rabbit and the wind kicked up and see ya, because it's flashy fuels, because it has an ignition temperature. It reached the flash point, and then you have the ignition point. See ya. Now it's gone with a little bit of a breeze. So by the time we got there, we unloaded the whole engine. All 3,500 feet ended up on that mountain. And we knocked it down. Now, we weren't the only one there, but I can say that our particular crew, because we were trained by T. Jones in the application of water, which was 3,500 feet, we were able to knock most of it down, what's called a perimeter, or what's called a pincer movement. The Nazis were famous for pincer movements, right? Like a scorpion, right? And like ants, right? Remember the movie called Them? As that relates to what? Sugar? And the damage that sugar does to the nerves? Acid? The damage that acid does to the central nervous system? Right? Creates a distorted sound wave. Now you know the speed at which you're recycling. The same damage. Right? And then what happens to the central nervous system? Your sensing capacity is less and less and less and less and less over time space vectors. Now that the sensing capacity is lost, well, that being doesn't have any more feelings. That's why we're here. It lost its feelings. So it operates strictly on the electronic thought form field, the mental health field, the reversal spiral. The P codes that represent the parasitic codes. So on this particular day, we laid out all 3,500 feet of that hose, and we picked it all up and put it back down by the engine and put it back up on the vehicle, the engine, right? So you can see how 3,500 feet, how much water was in every foot, how that relates to foot pounds per square inch, as it relates to what? Compression and expansion. Fire and water, fire and ice. Cool the base. Fire vapor. Yeah, the Ethernet cable news network. The sulfonic hover-body network. Binding pink, the pink Rosetta. That's why we're here. Correct the codes. Correct the maps. The visual and mathematical relationship that we have with maps. Mapping the codes. Mapping the index. Right? Running your original codes. The eternal life template. The silver and gold mated template. Because there is a difference between 4 and 5 and 6 and 60 as it relates to 10. That's why when I put something in on an audio clip to Lisa Wolf, I'm limited. You know what limited bandwidth is, right? It only allows me to speak to her for 10 minutes. That's it, and it gets cut off, which means you don't get any more time than that. And what does that do to programming? Your mind gets used to being programmed to run at 10-minute cycles. 60 cycles, 60 hertz. As that relates to 7.2, the 72s, half of 144, negative 13 reversal, and how that relates to the strong point, the point of it all. Remember Mr. Neo and Mr. Smith? What's the point of it all, Neo? I seem to have a strange connection point with you. The point of it all is the all creation, serving the one, the eternal sun, the silver and gold mated one. And that is high precision mathematics that is structural spiritual immunity, which is a math function, running math operators, the operator of the mathematical functions. Right? So I thought I'd share that story because I had a lot of fun. I love to chase the spirit of fire, but I do not enjoy experiencing the change in that map by the trauma that was experienced by all those sentient plants, by all those sentient trees, and those that live in the trees. Like all the squirrels, all the bears, all the birds, all the butterflies, everything that's there that experienced trauma. That's why I chose that particular application to apply to that job, for that job, because of where I needed to be at the time that I needed to be there in order to do the work that we do. Yeah. Which is to correct the cycles, right? 45 degrees. 90 and 90 become one. Number 9, the 9-ball double diamond. Yeah, so have a beautiful day with the spirit of fire and water. Join as one, fire and ice.